But with your photography, do you remember your first job?
My first job was, oh yeah, there was
Your first paid job, sorry, your first paid job.
yeah.
Yeah.
We had just finished exams, and then there was a party in the club, and I got paid 50 quid to shoot like the whole stuff.
Yeah.
It was,
The whole event.
yeah. I mean, in hindsight, the pictures were shit, so I guess it cancelled each other out. But then, because I think at that point, I had not shot an event, and it's like every knowledge I had at that point was theoretical knowledge. Like I'm like, so in reality, this is how it should work. But then sometimes you realize that what you know, unless you actually practice what you actually don't really know it. I don't know if that makes sense.
Not to me.
So it's okay. So it's like let me give you an example. So it's like I can see like okay, let's start with my journey in videography. Yeah, like I see a lot of stuff, and it's like, yeah, I can definitely do better than this. Like in theory, I know how things should work, but then once you get to the sets, it doesn't always translate that way.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, I definitely hear what you're saying with that, because I was even gonna say, like, I think these two kind of tie in, because I was gonna ask, like, do you remember how you was feeling at that time with your first job? Like, do you like, were you feeling nervous? Because I can imagine, like, I think with me as well, like a couple times, not necessarily in photography, but like you've said, like in theory, you know how it should go, and in your head you've got it all planned out, but then when it comes down to it, it's like it's very different. It doesn't go
Yeah,
exactly how you planned it. So do you remember like how you were feeling at the time of your first job? Especially
I
because you
think
know that people are like relying on you as well.
yeah.
And now that you're
I
being
feel like
paid, it's
I feel
serious.
like I feel like when I started photography, I was probably a bit too cocky. I wouldn't say cocky, but I watched a lot of YouTube videos, yeah. So I assumed that I knew stuff.
Yeah.
So in my head, it was like, yeah, nothing can go wrong. And everything went wrong. So it was for the first job, I actually wasn't nervous. But even up to now, sometimes you have a bad shoot and it kind of grounds you. So
Yeah.
it's like every shoot and it doesn't go anywhere as good as you thought it would be. And you're like, okay, maybe I need to go back to the drawing board and fix a couple of things up. So even now I still get nervous over certain things, but
You still get nervous now.
yeah, it's just I think now I can handle it. Like I can be nervous, but it might not show.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, experience doing stuff, and then I think for me it's like if so like there are certain techniques or light setups and all of that if all fails, I just go back to that. So that would work. But then for now, for example, let's say I'm trying to do something creative or something artsy. I have an idea, I have a plan in my mind. When I'm shooting, it might not work. So I just go back to what I know works.
Yeah.
And that's like I think that's like the upside of doing it for a while.
So,
That you
yeah.
don't yeah, I don't break down in front of my clients. I do something
I don't
else.
think that'd be very reassuring. Just having like
So
a mental break.
I think the most daunting part about photography is everyone on set looks at the photographer and think they know what they're doing. So it's like
Yeah.
the makeup artist, the stylist, the model, everybody thinks I should have answers. But I'm also confused. I don't know what I'm doing sometimes. And then, but you can't show it
Can't,
because
yeah.
if
You
your
can't.
model
Yeah.
if your model thinks you don't know what you're doing, she doesn't feel confident in what she's doing anymore. It kind of spills into everything else. But sometimes it's just me pretending to know what the fuck I'm doing, and it's like, yeah, hopefully nobody figures out that I don't know what I'm doing.
So
So
do you feel like a lot of your, not necessarily your photography, but do you feel like a lot of photography in general is um partly winging it and just kind of seeing what's working at the time, and just kind of maybe kind of figuring certain things out as you're going on, as you're doing the set?
I think a bad shot is better than no shot.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're nervous or stuff, it helps no one if you break down or you don't take pictures. Because I feel like even when you're stressed, you can still take a decent picture. It might not be the best, but you
Yeah.
can still come up with something. But then if you're too much in your head, you might not actually take a picture. And so I feel there's sometimes where because of the vibe the model has, it kind of inspires you to like figure stuff out. But
Yeah.
then if I'm too much in my feelings and I'm trying to figure it out, I don't actually realize that I'm actually not the only person creating here. Because there's me, there's the camera, there's a lot of other things going on. So if I'm not 100%, I can kind of hope that everything else is 100% and then they can help me out. If
Yeah.
that makes
Yeah, no,
yeah.
I definitely see that because now that you say that, I even remember one time I was doing something. It wasn't a job. It was actually something I wanted to do, but I called the girl. She was down for it. But her confidence in the modeling side of it helped me feel more confident because it feels,
Yeah.
it just kind of feels like you're not doing it alone, and it's like
Yeah.
them being confident. They already know. Like, remember how I was saying at the beginning, how you position your hand makes like a photograph like a little bit better. Like her being confident in how she poses and whatever, like it made me feel confident as well, like in what I'm doing. So I definitely I definitely get what you're saying with that. I don't know if that's what you mean by that.
Yeah, that's what I mean actually, because the last thing you want to do is I don't want to do everyone else's work for them. So it's like if I'm working with a model, I expect that she can do some of the work and I don't have to.
Yeah.
So if I'm doing a terrible job at photography, I don't have to do a terrible job at modeling because someone else is modeling for me. So that's what I mean actually. It's similar to what you're talking about.
Yeah. But do you feel like through your experience, you know how a model should pose? Because when I was interviewing someone else, they was like, they said that like when someone's not posing right, like they just tell them, like they're just ruthless about it. They'll just be like, look, like it's not working, like you have like a double chin or whatever. Like she'll say that. Do you know how like the person modeling where you should stand? Do you ever direct them?
I think my approach to posing models is I try to be like your friend because I feel once they're calm, it's a lot easier for them. So I don't most times I don't actually tell them where to put what.
Yeah.
I just have a conversation with them, let them feel comfortable. And once they feel, because most times once you have a shoot, if you're meeting the model for the first time, she is nervous,
Yeah.
you are nervous, and if you don't communicate, it never really goes away. But then if you're in a space where she's having a good time and you're having a good time and you're talking and laughing and all of that, chances are that she's going to do something that works.
Or she
And then
might
you
do
can be
something
like, okay,
extra as well. Yeah.
yeah. And then like, oh yeah, can you just do what you just did? And then that's like a starting point for something. So I don't direct much. And I feel like it's no help if I say something that might affect the confidence of my model. So even when it looks bad at times, I'm like, yeah, it looks good, but can we do it this way?
Okay.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
be,
You won't
I wouldn't
just,
be
yeah.
like, yeah,
Yeah, I think it's interesting that like I'm now seeing that there's like two different approaches to how you would go about it. Like from the sounds of it, you don't mind working with someone who's not the most confident model in the world, let's say, but there's another person who likes working with professionals. Even though she's like somewhat new to the game, she likes working with professionals because she just doesn't have time for it, or she'll be like ruthless with it, whereas you seem like you're
oh
being
yeah.
more patient with the client, with your client or the model, which is that's interesting to see that.